If I'm our nominee, I will unite this party, and we will defeat Hillary Clinton, and we will turn this country around once and for all after 7 years of the disaster that is Barack Obama.
So that was Marco Rubio at least trying to turn the fight external, right? So you point out, Beth, that we saw all of those internal beefs emerge, especially with Donald Trump off the stage. But I gotta say, I still think it's weird they keep running against a two-term, term-limited president. Like, in fact, no matter what happens, President Obama will be done because, in fact, the Constitution says so. So we could just move on. Like, I'm not sure that you can say that Hillary Clinton is the keeper of the Obama legacy. In fact, I think that's what they're battling for right now.
Never thought I'd say this so quickly, but I agree with you.
Yeah, like
And when Marco Rubio came out with that in his opening statement, in his first response, I was surprised. I really was. I think it was way too strong against the current president. Now, you could talk about the policies, and I agree with Marco Rubio that the current policies have been detrimental, but you need to talk about the future. We need to go back to the Reagan presidency and the Reagan candidacy and talk about city on the hill that can be, not talk about the negativity.
Oh, you mean rhetorically, as a kind of...
I think there was so much negativity in that debate. I think that's nice in theory, but in practice it polls really well to attack Barack Obama.
As a primary strategy.
Just like it did in 2008 to attack George W. Bush. It's an incumbent.
Which Obama did a ton. You're right.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. I don't recall anybody talking about kicking George W. Bush's fanny or rear end.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, that was Chris Christie.
That was horrifying.
Yeah. So that was Chris Christie in that last, right? Yeah, that wasn't this one. And that one was, that was over the top. That was out of hand.
Stupid a lot. And there was
not
a lot
on
of
stage,
but not by a candidate.
And not in a nationally
but not by a candidate. So I will say I do think there are two different things. I think what pundits and pollsters and people do is one thing. I think what people who are planning to be the president of the United States do is something different. And I do think that Mr. Christie went over the top. But I also say that what Mr. Rubio did there was not the same thing, right? That Mr. Rubio saying, I think his policies are a disaster is a perfectly, I mean, I disagree, but I think it's a fine argument.
In 2011 about George W.
Right,
Bush.
but the tone I kept on feeling like, God, I don't want to live in this country anymore. The way they're talking about it, it's just like, whoa, there's nothing hopeful. It was so negative that by the end, I was like,
let me ask if Mr. Trump is that because I will agree, it felt more negative. And I am wondering if that is one of the things that Trump has brought to the Republican side, is that he does a kind of like, well, we're going to win. Now, it doesn't have a ton of content, but it does have a kind of like, well, if I'm president, we're going to win.
We're going to make America great again.
Right, we're going to make it great. Right. It's just a rhetorical thing out there, but it produces something that clearly people are valuing.
I feel like he has approached this campaign with such an utter lack of decency just in how you treat other human beings, and it's been such a trickle-down effect, especially with his supporters. Like, I was shocked to see this article in Time. I thought it was awesome about the sexism of Trump's campaign and how many times his supporters called Megyn Kelly the absolute worst of worst words. And it's a trickle down, and it's the tone you set, it's the kind of leader you are, and I do think it's really important.
And she really was very, very strong. She was awesome in that debate. I'm running a program, helping to direct a program at Wake Forest, where I'm a college professor. It's my real job during the week, and we've got 22 students, both parties, all different, perspectives, and so we watch all the debates together. They live tweets called Wake the Vote, and they were kind of they were just watching her work, and they were like, this is a little masterful, just sort of watching how she was managing, questioning those candidates. And you're right, for a woman to be in that position and then to have the front-running candidate talk about her in those ways, I think is deeply problematic, no matter where you stand.
Which is why Iowa women voters are going to be fascinating to watch, because I also think in terms of the Trump conversation, and specifically now with this whole situation with Megyn Kelly, it's like, I want to know the women who are going to vote for Donald Trump.
You're still seeing women in Iowa and nationally support Trump in pretty large numbers because of his other positions, that he's saying things that people want to say, that he's airing concerns that people want to talk about,
but
such as immigration. So he is not killing himself with women in his feud with Megyn Kelly, because also Megyn Kelly isn't as universally popular as some people think.
I mean, she's not. She's a controversial figure. She's a controversial figure, and she's not like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. She can take care of herself.
But the numbers for Trump among women in a general election are terrible. He's about net 36.
Well, his unfavorability is terrible in general.
But for some reason, as you look at the numbers of him against Hillary and him against Bernie, he's still winning, right? If you just look at the head-to-head matchups in the polls,
it's so early, though.
It's very early. But
Also,
that's not the side of these numbers.
I think he did damage to himself. it probably was smarter than if he had gone and put himself in front of on the stage. But at the same time, it looked weak. Him doing that veterans event that was essentially all about himself. It was, you hear what Trump was talking about when cutting in, the little amount of time I spent watching that and commercial breaks from the other debate, and it was all about Trump. It wasn't about the veterans.
I got to ask you about one big political story that is on the table this morning, and that really is about, once again, Senator Clinton's emails, which have once again showed up. And I'm just wondering, this close to the Iowa caucuses, are they going to have an effect on what happens?
Here's what I think is going to have the effect. Hillary Clinton's biggest problem when you look at Democratic polling among Democrats who generally like her, there's this lack of trust. That's the thing that people kept expressing, and that's what takes, in many ways, takes people over to Sanders. The specifics of this particular email situation, where did they overclassify these 22 emails, I don't think people are going to pay attention to that, but it just reminds people of this trust issue, which has always been her problem. It's been the thing that's dogging her and is bringing her popularity down, even among Democrats.
So with the less than 48 hours, just once again, kind of hearing Clinton.
Of that uncomfortability people have with her around trust.
It's going to have more of an effect in New Hampshire, I think, than even Iowa. It's almost too soon for Iowa, and he may win. Sanders may win Iowa anyway. But what really matters in both Democrat and Republican elections is New Hampshire.
Here's my claim in New Hampshire, though. So Iowa, I just don't think she has time to fight back. But you put Hillary Clinton, you back baby into a corner. She has a tendency to be at her very best when she's swinging. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not New Hampshire gives her just enough lead time to punch back. Okay. Thank you to Boris and Maria and to Beth and to Elise. I love this panel. You have to come back a lot. Up next, President Obama's bold new move on criminal justice and what Republican candidates are saying about it when we come back.